Give a big round of happy hands for Dungeon Meshi, or Delicious in Dungeon in the English translation. Ranking both first and sixth in the 2016 and 2017 Kono Manga ga Sugoi Award for the Male Readers Division, respectively, the manga was also nominated for the Manga Taisho Award for 4 consecutive years from 2016 to 2019, and won Best Comic at the 55th Seiun Awards in 2024. Before we get started, I'd like to break down my game plan for you all today. Today I'm going to discuss who is a part of this fandom, why, in my opinion, they like the anime, and why this matters. Before we begin, however, I'd like to give you a little background information. Running from February 2014 to September 2023, with the English translation only wrapping up distribution now at the end of 2024, this is a large work with intricate world building and lots of opportunity for visual spectacle. This is how we land on Studio Trigger, a production and animation company of Cyberpunk Edgerunner, Little Witch Academia, and Star Wars Visions fame, just to name a small sampling. Founded in 2007, Trigger is well known for their colorful and fluid animation and stunning choreography. They are a natural choice for this fun and often lighthearted, but also absolutely brutal and gory anime. Following a January 4th release date, fans and novices alike were devouring the episodes and eagerly discussing amongst each other. Following a weekly release schedule, there was lots of time between releases for fan theories and lots of art to be produced. Rather than a sense of elitism as in many online spaces, the Dungeon Meshi fandom was quite open to new members and was careful to tag spoilers so that everybody could explore the story at their own pace. There are many posts comparing the adaptation of the anime to the original manga. Time between releases allowed the sense of anticipation to build, fan theories circulating like wildfire across various online spaces, and as the fandom's quite respectful, it's quite easy to find specific tags and avoid explicit words. Ryoku Kui is a rather private artist when it comes to their personal life, but I think their works speak for themselves. Well known for her previous work on Terrarium in a Drawer, according to Wikipedia, Terrarium in a Drawer is a collection of short stories detailing the lives of multiple unrelated characters, with this new story almost every chapter. The manga's tone ranges from fantastical, Wrath of the Dragon, to conceptual, Eating Symbols, to everyday, Sense of Scale. The manga examines each of its highly fictional characters with a realistic lens, giving it a sense of authenticity that is seen in Kui's other work, Dungeon Meshi. Her work has a signature realism to the fantasy that makes it feel grounded, like there are real stakes and depth, and allow for her to explore dark themes like life and death, the food chain, the ethics of resurrection, and even tragic pasts and interpersonal drama while maintaining a balanced tone. I've noticed the fandom for Dungeon Meshi to be disproportionately neurodivergent and queer. Beside the fact that the subject for this anime is at the intersection between Dungeons and Dragons and ecology, which, let's be real, Dungeon Meshi is an autistic pipe dream. Laios gets to live his dream and do something he loves every day. He's supported and respected by his friends and peers, and honestly, this anime based off of Dungeons and Dragons was always going to be a hit. Dungeons and Dragons is the perfect structured outlet for people to socialize when they struggle with that, but also have a lot of ways to tie in their creative strengths. Inspired by the love between these characters in every form, there is so much beautiful artwork that allows people to work through their own personal brands of queer angst and allows people to really zone in on these topics of life and death and rebirth. And there's just such beautiful resurrection imagery around Fallon and Marcel and Laios. I don't know a single person on the spectrum who hasn't committed some sort of social faux pas and felt so bad that they were upsetting someone and simultaneously so frustrated that nobody would just voice it if they were upset or voice their expectations. In one episode, they come across the party with his sister's ex, so to speak. Laios' good friend Shiro was absolutely enamored with his sister Fallon, but found Laios to be quite irritating, especially because he was so well-meaning. Coming from the East, Shiro works a lot more on subtext. It would be very rude in his culture for him to outright tell Laios to leave him alone, and he expected Laios to pick up on unspoken cues. Laios expected Shiro to communicate clearly his expectations with him, and thought that they must be friends. And since he didn't have a lot of experience with friendship, there was definitely no way he was going to pick up on those more subtle social cues. It is often remarked on how weird and intense Laios is, especially when it comes to monsters, and yet it saves their bacon more times than they can count. It is genuinely his strong suit. Not only does Laios' curiosity allow them to defeat a whole colony of enchanted armor, but they realize the armor was never enchanted to begin with. It was actually a colony of mollusk-like creatures mimicking a person. It comes to light that Shiro left to seek reinforcements to go get Fallon. While they're working towards the same goal, Shiro deeply disagrees with their methodology. Upon discovering the dark outlawed magic Marcella used to resurrect Fallon, Shiro and Laios come to literal blows. Shiro yelling that Laios should learn how to read a room, and Laios going, how was he supposed to know? Shiro was his first friend. While most people don't literally come to blows over it, it was a very cathartic scene for a lot of neurodivergent folk. Feeling constantly ostracized and eventually having something blow up in your face you didn't even realize was an issue, that's a normal occurrence for a neurodivergent person. I dare you, if this sounds unfamiliar to you, to look online sometime and see just how much it mattered to so many people around you. Further, an anime adaptation is not only perfectly tailored to manga in general, but something that really tends to itch the brains of autistics just right. We tend to be able to see emotions a lot better. There are very clear and distinct, consistent visual shorthand to the genre, and it's often used for visual jokes. The subversion of common anime tropes is one of my favorite things about Studio Trigger's iteration of Dungeon Meshi. Rather than sexualizing our female characters, they poke fun at the people expecting it by making every obligatory upskirt shot be of the dwarf. The running joke is just how handsome Senshi is. Beauty standards, so to speak, in their world are very different, and because he's a dwarf, his masculine beardedness is just very, very beautiful for his race. Rather than sexualizing the young women characters, they jokingly sexualize the male character with lots of agency who acts as a parent to the group. Yet even when they have him trip and show up his skirt, they still never demean Senshi or take away his agency as they do many female characters in many more cliché scenes. And that's one of the things I love about Dunmeshi, and I've noticed that many other people agree with me on. Their female characters are just so real. Just like their male counterparts, they have different interests and strengths and different flaws that they have to overcome. And they all have their own biases based on their own experiences that are realistic and just make the world feel so fleshed out. Heck, if I started talking about the politics of Dunmeshi, this podcast would have to be an hour. Because the fandom is so diverse, and because the world feels so real, fandom discourse often mimics real-world politics, with people talking about biases and various interactions between different races and different characters' specific ideas about those things. Newsflash, every single one of your favorites is racist, because they all have their own prejudices that they are still overcoming, and that is a part of being alive and a part of being human in real life, right? The second you stop, the second you get complacent, is when you start forming way more biases. You know, if you're not aware of your biases, trust me, it doesn't mean you don't have them. It just means you're not doing the work it takes to get over them. We know that when we see different kinds of people on television, it allows us to better accept and understand them, and to better accept and understand ourselves. Psychology Today has a great article on why representation matters and why it's still not enough. They say positive media representation can be helpful in increasing self-esteem for people in marginalized groups, especially youth. And interpersonal contact and exposure through media representation can assist in reducing stereotypes of underrepresented groups. I wish I had seen more Laios and Fallon Todens growing up. Both siblings are very autism coded, and both, while socially ostracized on a broader scale, are absolutely loved and respected by the people closest to them. Both had a very hard time growing up in a small, closed minded village before Fallon went to magic school and Laios joined the army. He was also ostracized there and became a deserter. They generally have an okay reputation amongst the adventuring crowd, but people don't really know what to make of them. They're just a little different. Fallon was a very odd child in school, often quiet, keeping to herself, skipping classes to go explore outside. It wasn't until she and Marcel became friends that she really opened up. Ultimately, Marcel decided to travel with her and Laios. Not only does Fallon specialize in very specific kinds of magic and absolutely excel in them, but she seems to disregard things that she is not interested in and is often caught skipping class or neglecting her personal appearance as a young child. Laios is shown to better get along with dogs than people as a kid and often mimics animals. Combined with his vast and encyclopedic knowledge of animal behavior, this often comes in handy for the group. This kinship with animals and propensity for long-term and very close friendships, but very few of them, are all again hallmarks of the neurodivergent experience. And once again, while sometimes cringy or difficult to watch, these are things that a lot of viewers really related to and felt very seen by. In the end, Dungeon Meshi had everything it needed to make it great and was picked up by a very skilled animation team that really saw the work for its potential and didn't really have to change too much. Studio Trigger did a beautiful job bringing Kui's work to life, and besides changing a few things around for pacing, kept it very, very true to the original content. Managing to strike the perfect balance between gritty without being too gratuitous, I think Dungeon Meshi is worth a watch. And maybe, just maybe, it'll make you appreciate yourself for your own little quirks too.